morning I'm with Jaco van Gass. He is a Olympic champion, world champion, about the most inspirational person I've ever met or heard about. From Witbank, Mpumalanga originally, now lives in the UK and rides for Team Great Britain. Jaco, very, very good morning. Thank you so much for talking to us on Oorsee.
Hey guys, thank you for having me. It's good to be on.
Right, so Jaco, you're currently in Cape Town, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm back in South Africa. I just had a small spell, about 3 weeks in Pretoria, and now I'm currently in Cape Town on a big training block, just in a preparation for next year's Paralympic. Yeah.
Right, so I mean, just talking about Cape Town, is it true that you, one of the amazing things I read up when I was doing my research is that you also rode the Cape Epic as an amputee, is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. So I think it was 2019, if I remember correctly. Myself and a friend, Stu Croxford, he's a Bologna amputee. I'm obviously above elbow amputee. And we became the first ever disabled team to complete the Cape Epic. So yeah, which was great. Tough event, quite hard, but yeah, it was amazing feat. And we've actually gone on to do the Swiss Epic as well, actually just earlier this year in September. And we hope to do one of the other Epic events to then claim the what they call the Epic status, the legend medal, the legend status. So yeah, that's our kind of goal between me and Stu as a team together.
I mean, that is a notoriously tough event for anybody. I mean, it's incredible that you could finish that as a team. That must have been physically exhausting, like on your body riding. I mean, there's a lot of impact through the shoulders. Kind of, how do you mitigate that on the bike when you don't have kind of that shock absorber on your shoulders?
It's a good question. I don't mitigate it. I kind of just take it, really. There was days where it was tough. It was so tough. I think it was like day 3 was one of the more technical sections. It was a very rocky climb, and everyone just looked forward to the descent. But the descent was actually worse than the climb. It was just Jeep track, very rocky, very bouncy. And as we were going down, people were stopping on the side to shake their hands out and shake their arms off. And I only got one hand. And I was just in a place where it's like, I just need to get down this hill. Because if I stop, I'm not sure I want to get back on my bike and start again. So I just kind of kept going. And honestly, that night, I had probably 20 people, if more, come up to me asking me, how did I survive that day? Again, as you say, they had 2 hands with the shock and with the bumps and with the, just everything. Your palms are bruised. And I had all that pressure just through one arm, and then obviously through my left shoulder with the prosthetic. And yes, I just got through it, but that was one of those days where you kind of just grit your teeth and kind of get through it and kind of just know that, yeah, you just got to get through it, and no matter what cost. But yeah, the next day was pretty tough. It was pretty hard with the hand, and like I said, quite a lot of like nerve, not damage, but kind of nerve soreness. Like my pinky and the ring finger goes numb. Like I lost feeling through it during that week, just because of holding on. And it took about 2 weeks before I've actually regained any feeling through those 2 fingers.
I mean, that is just an incredible story and adventure. But I want to quickly talk about your book, and I've got a copy here. Brilliant, fascinating, so inspiring. I've read it twice already in preparation for talking to you. Talk me through what you say in the book, growing up like a farm boy in Witbank. My wife from there as well, by the way, so I know the area very well. Growing up on the farm and deciding I want to now go and become a soldier. but I'm going to do it for the British Army?
Yeah, I mean, I've always had a interest. I've always had a fascination about the army. I was absolutely fascinated and hooked by stories of my grandparents and my parents, and obviously my friends' dads sitting around a fire, uh, talking about their time in service, and what they've done on the borders and stuff like that. And I was just fascinated about it. There was a time when I wanted to be a police officer, but as we all know, South Africa changed very rapidly in both the military and within the police force. But that passion was always there. You know, I had the you know the privilege and being lucky as well. You know, taking under my granddad's wing on the farm. He taught me how to shoot an air rifle, and you know, and kind of bits in the field and navigation, and you know, and it's stuff like that that you know just serves us so well as South Africans joining any forces. So we do rock up, and the British Army loves South Africans because we're pretty much we turn up trained really. So we kind of just go through the motions, and they you know they again you know they know we can shoot, they know we can do fieldcraft, they know we're tough buggers. So and we're always fit. So it's really just putting the finer touches onto us. But yeah, and that was it. I had this fascination, I had this dream, and you know, the South African Defence Force was going nowhere, very corrupt. We were doing, you know, there was no active service, and I knew the British Army was, you know, an active army, you know, both in Afghanistan and both in Iraq at the time. So, yeah, and that kind of fascinated me. You know, you're not joining the army to sit in a barracks or to go and exercise. You join to potentially go to war, and that was actually one of the you know drawing points for me. And because we got part of the Commonwealth, that enables us to join as South Africans. And like I said, any other Commonwealth country can join the British military. And yeah, I just made a decision that I wanted to still follow this passion of mine, and hence the reason the British Army was a good option.
Now, we've got to talk about the incident in Afghanistan where you were injured. It is beautifully, brilliantly described in the book. So I don't want to, you know, talk about any spoilers here. I just want to talk about afterwards, you waking up in the hospital, going through many months of rehabilitation, and then deciding one day, I'm going to become a downhill skier, right? Talk me through the process, because many people will just be excited and proud to walk or get up or just move. You decide, I'm going to take up a new sport and become a champion in it, or I'm going to walk to the North Pole. You know, talk me through that process where you go from rehabilitation and dealing with it to now deciding, I'm going to get up to all these adventures.
Well, yeah, you actually mean I was also still one of those people that I was actually just excited to eventually walk and to run. But it was through that excitement that I could get back to that, because I totally had to learn to walk again. I had to learn to run again with the injuries I sustained to my left leg. Um, and I was non-weight bearing for months on my legs. So all that muscles wasted away, all the memory of how to do active kind of movements with it, I had to relearn those patterns. So I did start at the bottom, but it's also that was part of it as well. It was this new life, because obviously I've never been injured to this degree. I've never not had an arm. So it was like, oh, there's this new life ahead of me with the injuries I sustained. There's this new challenge ahead of me. And that was pretty much part of it. And that was systematically where I learned to walk. That was the first challenge, to kind of get that done, then learn to run. Then I gone off to do a half marathon and a marathon, actually a few marathons. And that gave me almost like the fitness and the belief to then go off to do other stuff. Then I had the opportunity to go to Bavaria. And again, this is all through some rehabilitation programs through the British Army. And again, I was like, I've never skied. I would love to learn to ski. And I just fell in love with it. it took me a little while to get used to it. Again, I think to a degree, a bonus was I've never skied before my injury. So I was learning with my injuries and with the capacity that I had, basically, and fell in love with it. And basically, as I said, the rest is history. There was a team called the Armed Forces Combined Services Disabled Ski Team. That's a big mouthful. They've actually changed their name now. It's longer than that. And anyway, so I joined them, and that was it was basically it's an army run program for the disabled guys that wants to do more skiing, and it's basically a stepping stone into the national team or the national disability team to go and then I was like, oh, Sochi is, I think it was 4 maybe even 6 years away then. I was like, oh, Sochi could be an option. And yeah, and like I say, I just joined them and then did quite a few winters out learning to ski and to race and got to a decent standard. But then I actually went and observed the World Cup, and then I just saw the level that it really is. And these guys have skied, they're either born with disability or they, especially the Nordic countries, they are just, these guys skied all their life and then had an injury and can still ski to a very high standard. And I was just like, wow, the South African plaasboertjies in the snow, I thought I was good, but I'm not close to what was required. So I can't see that dream shut. It was always just an option. But yeah, I loved, and I represented the army, and I just love skiing. But again, that laid a platform of, okay, well, I can ski, and then it just so happens that the North Pole expedition came up as well, and that required some level of skiing, more Nordic skiing, but at least knowing conditions on the snow and balance and all that kind of stuff. So that kind of really set me up well for that.
So before we get into the detail of how you decide to walk to the North Pole, I just want to focus in on your thought process is not just focusing, oh, I want to walk again. No, I'm going to run marathons, taking up skiing. No, I don't want to just learn how to ski. I'm thinking, when is the Winter Olympics? It's that mindset of just going right to the top level. I want to be the best. Was that always how you kind of lived your life, being, I want to be the best soldier, I want to be world class? Or was that something that came in kind of as part of the rehabilitation to set lofty goals and work towards that?
I think there was always an element of that in me, of wanting to be the best or trying to be the best or going for the hardest stuff. I just think it really elevated once I got injured and more opportunities presented itself. Because I was obviously in the army, and yes, like you say, I wanted to be the best soldier I possibly can and do it to the best degree, and go on to build a successful career in that. But then, what other opportunities is there, like you say, really to push yourself, really to kind of, like you say, represent your country or represent the army in various ways? That door just opened, and I'm just like, right, I need to make the most of it. It was really just opportunities that came my way and seizing the moment and seizing the opportunity, really. Like I say, and it just fell in with my mantra of, I don't know what this new life is going to look like. Let's just go out and find out what I can and can't do. So I was just like saying yes to everything. And I knew there will be challenges along the way, and I knew there'd be stuff that I won't be able to do. And I knew this, but it also gave me the opportunity to kind of learn a lot of new skills and a lot of new sports that I actually can do. But it's also learned. I think I found out more stuff that I can do rather than I can't. But it's because I'm taking it on, and I'm like, there's always a way around it. There's always something you can adapt, something you can manipulate to a degree to assist you. And that's what I've learned in life as well. When you fail the first time, don't just give up. Like, look for, like, okay, why did I fail? Look back at it and go, what can I do to make this work? Who's around me? What support team there is? I'm not just talking about the adaptations or kit and equipment, but also who is there someone around me that can help me achieve a goal or to correct something. So building a team around you with the right people is also very important.
Right. I mean, so while you were kind of testing your new limits to see what you were capable of as an amputee, you decided, I'm going to walk to the North Pole, and you know what? I'm going to also carry everything I need to survive behind me, pulling it behind me in a sled. Can we just talk about that utter madness, walking to the North Pole unaided, and how you came to meet Prince Harry and your relationship, how he was involved with the British military and injured soldiers, please?
Yeah, it was Walking with the Wounded, the charity. They came up with the crazy idea to take on. It was actually, to be honest, it was a midlife crisis of the founder, Ed Parker. It was him and a few friends were going to walk to the North Pole, and his cousin got blown up. His cousin was an army officer, lost both his legs, and when he went and visited him in hospital in Seljuk, he saw just the determination and the willingness of these, everyone in that hospital in the S4 ward, just wanting to live a better life, wanting to become better, wanting to, no matter what. There was triple amputees, there was double amputees, there was guys with their face, scarred and burns all over. No matter what the injury, they all still had a sense of humor, and they all just wanted to get to Seljuk, go through the rehabilitation and live a life. So he was like, right, we need to show the world the passion these guys got. And that's how, and so instead of doing it with a bunch of friends, he's like, right, him and his best friend and 4 other wounded lads, we're going to do this. And that's how it got born. And basically they went through a whole phase of selecting a few guys, and I was very fortunate to be one of them. And yes, Prince Harry was the patron of the charity. And actually quite late on into our preparation, he announced to Ed Parker to say, hey, actually, you know what will be really cool? I would love to come and join you on the ice. So that was quite a surprise, but a very pleasant and welcoming one. So quite a lot of arrangements had to be made for that. But he did, and he came and joined us on the ice, and he joined us for quite a few days. And it was wonderful to have him there. It was tough, it was hard, it was cold, and he pulled his weight, and he slotted in so well as a team member. It was actually quite sad the day he had to go. We sadly got delayed a few days due to weather conditions from our original start date. So it just meant like days with him on the ice got less and limited. So eventually when he actually had to fly back for good purpose for his brother's wedding back then, we really felt like we lost a team member. Like really, we felt rather sad him leaving us, because he slotted in so well. It was actually sometimes quite surreal laying in a tent thinking it's back then as well, a lot has changed in the meantime, but back then he was the third in line to the throne. So you're like, this is just madness. We're just sitting in a tent chilling with Prince Harry, and he was down with everyone, and he's just a normal guy, just with this ridiculous titles and and kind of I don't know, this life that he leads and responsibilities. So, but deep down, he's just like you and me, and that came out really well. And I think he's very good at that. He makes you feel quite relaxed around him.
But I don't think people realize how isolated you are up there. I mean, we could talk the whole interview just about this one achievement. I mean, you walking all the way unaided to the North Pole in complete isolation. I mean, you're up there alone. You must feel like you're the only people in the world because you can't see anyone, right?
You're right. This was 2 weeks. It was 14 days on the ice where we saw not a single other person or individual or any even other form of life, not even animals or nothing like that. And I actually remember it was one of the last days, I think the day before we reached the North Pole. we came across ski tracks, quite fresh, but we came across other people's ski tracks, not even seeing them, and we were like, oh my god, there's life out here. We were actually so, but we were like, oh, shall we just follow them and go and say hi? But they were, obviously, because the North Pole is frozen sea ice, so it moves all the time. So they were going in a total different direction. Well, the tracks were, because as the ice moved across, during the hours that they did. But even that was like an exciting thought when we eventually came someone else's ski tracks, going, oh, there is other life out here. So yeah, it was like you say, total isolation. No one else, and especially that year as well. From the Canadian side, they had very, very, very bad weather systems. All expeditions from the Canadian side that year was cancelled. It's only from the Siberian side that some expeditions made it, and we were one of them. So yeah, like I say, we saw it was pilots that dropped us off on week one, day one, and they came and picked us up, and that was the only living thing that we saw for 2 weeks, apart from the teammates. And like you say, it's quite isolated, and it's amazing how your body adapts. Like, you lose your sense of smell, you lose your sense of taste, because there's no bacteria there. There's nothing. It's too cold for anything really to survive in those conditions. So coming back into and again, you settle into the white out there. So you're kind of, when you're looking, your brain kind of, that's all it kind of recognizes, and obviously your kit and equipment and taints is the only break from the white colors. So when we went back into civilization, I remember flying into Oslo, and it was almost too much. Like, I was just overwhelmed with all the senses of colors and smells and everything else. So it was quite mind-boggling. Yeah.
And how great would proper food taste? Again, I'm assuming you didn't have a chef traveling with you, preparing these gorgeous meals. It's like freeze-dried food, astronaut food. Is that what you live on?
That's exactly, yeah. We picked some I think it was Norwegian ration packs. We've tested, we've trialed, because food is fuel, but it's also morale. And like you say, freeze-dried food is pretty rank. But we tried a few, and we tried to pick the most tasty ones. And I think the Norwegians had the better of all the ones we had. Probably lower on calories, so we actually had to take more food with us to actually, kind of consume enough calories that we were burning off. But like you say, we knew that food is actually morale as well. And just so that was the better tasting ones, and it was still not the nicest. So yes, like you say, especially me, I was dreaming of food during all the days, and for some odd reason as well, broccoli. I just wanted green. I wanted broccoli for so long. So yeah.
And I mean, you can't carry your body weight in biltong for fuel. I mean, it's just too heavy in relation to, I mean, you were burning thousands of calories a day, walking pretty much from when your eyes open till you pass out at night. So you're burning what, thousands of calories, right?
I think we calculated we were going to burn anything between 6,000 and 9,000 calories a day. So depending on how long the day was, depending on the cold, because again, you remember, your body's burning calories just to keep you warm. Then your body's burning calories just to keep you alive. And then you're walking or in a calorie burning heart rate for 10, 15 hours a day as well. You're walking slow and steady and it's literally, if you know anything about sport, or you're in that zone, upper zone 1, low zone 2, and you're literally that's your calorie burning zone. So basically, like I say, anything between 6 to 8 or even 9,000 calories a day. We only consumed between 4,000 or 5,000 calories a day. So hence the reason we actually had to make sure that we had to be, nice and fat before we go. I actually struggled to keep weight onto me because our training was so strenuous. I was doing gym work. I was dragging tires through Hyde Park and through Greenwich, and for hours a day. So my metabolism was running away with me, and yet I had to try and put. And the thing is, as well, it's not putting on. You got to put on healthy fat. It's not about putting on. It's not about eating McDonald's. For breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's eating healthy fats, but it's consuming so much food. So yeah, I was one of the lighter guys that actually were told, like, until I hit, I think I had a deadline of 82 kilos minimum. Until I hit 82 kilos, I'm not allowed to get on the flight, because they knew that like I said, we needed a buffer. They knew that we were going to burn more calories than what we can consume, and they were right. So it was pretty much of a food fest for me every day.
And every single calorie you consume, you've got to carry that in with you. So, I mean, like I said, we could talk about this incredible adventure the rest of the interview, but we still need to get to all the rest of your achievements, and becoming multiple world champion and Olympic champion. We haven't even discussed the fact that you decided you're going to climb Everest. So before we get to the cycling, just quickly talk to me about that kind of adventure, deciding you're going to go to Nepal and you're going to climb up Everest.
Yeah, so we obviously did a very successful trek to the North Pole, and we came back, and it's funny enough, you're on there and you think, okay, this is hard, this is tough, I'm never doing something like this again. And it only takes 2 or 3 days of a comfy bed and a warm shower, and you forget all the hardship, and then suddenly your mind starts wandering to the next adventure, and that was
Maybe you do, but not the rest of us.
Yeah, maybe, but so basically that was Everest, and basically it's a funny old story. I was never meant to be on the Everest team, because again, with Walking with the Wind, with the charity, they told my story. I was, we kind of showed everyone what we can do, and we wanted a kind of new team with different injuries and different stories and different backgrounds to inspire, another kind of group of individuals for Everest. But the again, Ed Parker, the founder of the charity, he was very keen in having me involved as a mentor, and going along the journey up until we always knew we were going to climb Mount Manaslu, which is the 8th highest mountain in the world. And he said, I'll bring you along up until then. You can mentor some of the other guys, you gain a bit of experience. It's just nice having you around. But we've already decided you're not going to be on an Everest team. And I was like, you know what, that's fine. Absolutely. And so we'd done all the training, all the preparation, went to Manaslu, and there was 10 of us, and out of 11, counting me in, but there was 10 other individuals potentially to go on to the team to finally get selected to go to Everest later on that year. And out of the 10 of the other guys, only 5 made it to the summit, because that was one of the reasons we went to this 8th highest mountain in the world, is to get people into altitude, because it doesn't matter how fit you are, it doesn't matter how strong you are. It's once you get to altitude, it's how your body as an individual deals with it. But I thrived in the environment. I never knew it myself. I deal well with altitude, and I made it to the summit, no problem whatsoever. Possibly could have done it without oxygen, but again, no one knew. I didn't knew, so it was more like thoughts afterwards, and speaking to some of the more experienced climbers, where they're like, Jackie, you've got a bit of a talent here. You it's really good. And anyway, so came down, successful summit, and that was it. In my head, I was like, right, I'm done. So these guys will now get selected, and that's it. And I was actually in New York about to run the New York Marathon for a charity when Ed called me, and it's like, listen, we had a good chat. We really want success. We really want to put someone on the summit. Loads of the other guys, only you and one other, Francis, did really well. Sorry, let me just. You and Francis did really well, and we want you on a team because you stand a good chance of actually getting to the top of Everest. The other guys might make it, but we want someone on the top, and that's how I got onto the team. So fast forward quite a bit. Again, got to Everest, absolutely loved it in my environment. We
So
experienced
I
some
don't
very
want
difficult weather.
I don't want us to talk about what happens next, because I want to talk about the book, right?
Okay.
People need to read about that chapter in the book. Otherwise, we're giving everything away, right? Where can people buy your book? Where can they find it? In South Africa, for instance, in the UK, and in the US?
So in South Africa, first of all, well, that's part of the reason why I'm here. I've just launched the book in South Africa. It's newly out, newly released in all exclusive book shops all around the country. Reader's Warehouse, Reader's Digest, and also Giraffe, and then also on Take a Lot. So you can get it online as well. And then in the UK, again, Amazon is probably the biggest platform. And then it's in a variety of Waterstones and other bookstores again. But again, I think in the UK, you're probably best and the quickest on Amazon. And then in the US, actually a little bit more difficult, most likely looking for it on Amazon again. It's not in stores there yet. We are hoping to get it there, but you probably find it on Amazon there.
And then in the Australia, New Zealand, our other kind of biggest viewers are from those two countries. Where would they find the book there?
Again, most likely online. That's it. Okay. So it's quite between the publishers in both the UK and South Africa. Between them, they will probably somehow get it there, or like I say, most likely online is the best form to get it there.
So just books called Unequivocal, Jaco van Gass. Now, finally, we can talk about kind of your main job. You found your niche after walking to the top of the world, climbing to the top of the world, doing all these other crazy things. You fell in love with cycling, and that took you to the World Championships and then on to the Olympics. Can we quickly talk about that, your first World Cup, what happened and how you got onto the British team and then onto the Olympics?
Well, yeah, like you say, I've always had a love and a passion for cycling. Even as a kid, I was always on my bike, on my BMX, in the street, bike up to school, all that kind of stuff. And then joined the army, put it aside a bit, and it's actually after my incident that I wanted to get back on the bike again. Fast forward quite a few years, I then was in the process of leaving the army. I was living in London, and it was the Paralympic Games hosted in London. And I went and viewed some of the sports, and I was fascinated. I was so inspired by it. It was unbelievable. And I decided that, wow, I want to be that guy in the field. I don't want to sit in the stands. But it was actually seeing the reaction of the crowd, and seeing how inspiring these athletes are and the level that they compete at, that blew me away. So I knew it was proper. And that was my next challenge. And like I said, I turned my hand to cycling, always had a love and a passion for it. And yeah, I wanted to get to Rio. That was the next Paralympics after London. And long story short, didn't make it, but all the sacrifice. And I then sat down and I kind of reviewed everything that happened to me in the last 4 years. And I was just like, I made so many sacrifices, so many decisions, life changed so much, and yet I didn't make it. And I knew something was wrong, something was missing. And basically it was the love and enjoyment of it. So I made a very difficult decision to leave the high performance team, leave British Cycling, went off on my own, did a bit more climbing, ticked a few more boxes off in the climbing world. But I never stopped cycling. I went on other adventures and other, the Cape Epic, which we spoke about earlier on. And then I actually went to a World Cup on my own as an individual, or, as an independent rider. And I won the World Cup. And because I won, that qualified me to represent Great Britain at the World Championships, which they did. They invited me to come as an independent rider. So basically they would pay my plane ticket and the hotel, and the rest is still, on me, basically. So I took the opportunity, did that, and I went to the World Championships in 2020. And I came back as a 3-time world champion. all on my own, my own training, all that kind of stuff. And everyone's just like, what are you doing? Where is this coming from? You're
That's just
funding,
incredible.
you're funding yourself, you're training yourself, you're kind of, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm just having fun. I just love cycling at the moment. It's not about, I'm almost training more because I love being on my bike more than I've done before. So, again, so that just put me in a great position. And British Cycling said, listen, do you want to come back on the team? You stand a good chance of going to Tokyo. So again, I took the opportunity. And again, I could see the positives in that, in terms of their kit and equipment, and taking some of the pressures off of being a individual, independent athlete. But I sat down with them and said, listen, we just need to have a clear understanding of what I do and what I know, and I know there's stuff I need to do for you, but I don't want to be this all inclusive athlete again, just under you say yes or no of what I can do. I need to have a lot of free reign. And they were like, listen, as long as you bring us medals, we're pretty happy with it. And that's what happened. And yes, and then we went to Tokyo, coming back with amazing results, 3 world records, 2 golds, 1 bronze. And I thought, that to be very honest, the thought was always to get to a Paralympics and then tick a box and move on. But when I stood on that podium for my first gold medal, I knew I was going to have to do it all again. Because obviously due to COVID and the very strict rules and regulations within Japan and within Tokyo, that no friends and no family could come, I was just like, you know what, my wife is my biggest supporter, my biggest fan, my sister, my family, my friends, and no one was allowed in. And I've just achieved the greatest thing I've done in a while, in my life, and there's no one there to share it with me. So yeah. So I knew that moment, like, luckily it's only another 3 years because of the delay with COVID. So I knew it was going to be another 3 years of dedication. And like I say, we're around the corner. We're 8 months away from the next Paralympic Games.
That's just incredible. I mean, Jaco, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your incredibly inspiring story with us. If people want to hear more, and I'm sure they want to hear more, they got to go out, buy the book. Jaco van Gass, Olympic champion, world champion, inspiring person. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Thank you for everyone. Thank you for listening. And yes, please, like I say, please buy the book. Thank you for your support. And it's been great chatting with you.